Just about 8 minutes before the hour of 7 o'clock, welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, we're switching gears a bit as we focus on the International Accounting Standards Board, their new financial reporting standard, which is the IFRS17. Joining us this morning to discuss this is Managing Director of Tatil and Tatil Life Director and also member of ATIC, Musa, Ibrahim, and Vice President of Operations LHP at Guardian Life of the Caribbean, and also a member of ATIC, Mr. Brandon Deyalsingh. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Kimberly.
That tongue twister with IFRS17. But before we get into that, I'm coming to you first, Musa, because what exactly is ATIC?
Oh, ATIC is an acronym for the Association of Trinidad and Tobago Insurance Companies. It's an association that was established in 1966. It comprises of all life insurance companies and most general insurance companies. There are other intermediaries such as brokers and adjusters who are also members. And essentially, ATIC is a single voice for the insurance industry in Trinidad and Tobago.
So is it that you advocate on behalf of the people in the group for certain things?
Absolutely, depending on circumstances, but overall, just that single voice to address all concerns and communicate to the general public as we're doing here today.
Yeah, nice. Now, the IFRS 17, I don't know if Brandon or even Musa, you can handle this. What exactly is that new standard?
So the IFRS, and it is a bit of a tongue twister, but in the industry, we've been saying that acronym for around 5 years, every single day now. Wow. So we're very happy to come and talk about it today. It is a standard that tries to reflect better the financial reporting of insurance companies. So previously, we had something called IFRS 4, and a lot of work has been done over the past couple of years, more than a decade, to get us to IFRS 17. And the people that use and look at our financial statements, they're going to see different line items. They're going to see different ways of numbers flowing through a profit and loss statement and other financial statements. And IFRS 17 tells us how to do those things with the goal of making the financial statements more transparent, more comparable, and more useful.
This standard or the document that you're referring to, is it only for accountants and people in that field, or the average Joe can look at this and understand exactly what's going on?
It's specifically for insurance companies, which comprises of life and PNC, which is general insurance as we know it in Trinidad. It's really, as Brandon said, an accounting standard that brings a level of comparability for the varying types of insurance companies throughout the world. There are actually about 182 countries worldwide that are adopting this standard. Is it a simple standard for the general user? That's debatable. Ultimately, it's disclosure of financial results in a manner that is comparable.
Yeah. And how does it help with the underlying fundamentals of insurance? Does it make it clearer? Does it, because there's a standard, it's going to be regarded as a higher sort of thing? How does that help?
So that's a great question. I think the R in IFRS for reporting is really important to focus on. So the way that we report our activity is outlined in this standard. But what we do and the way we do it isn't necessarily prescribed in the standard. We conduct our activity, we honor our contracts with our policyholders, we honor our commitments to all our stakeholders, and IFRS is the way we report that, the way we tell that story. Now, when you're investing in a reporting standard like this, you do have to provide the data, you do have to extract the insights that the standard is asking for. So a lot of investments have been made in the industry, in data, the way that some departments within these companies work together, but the core operations of what we do remain unchanged.
And how is this standard different to the other ones that would have been used in the industry before?
Essentially, what the current standard, the new standard attempts to do is bring better clarity of information to the readers of financial statements. One of the 4 principles of IFRS is comparability, and where the predecessor IFRS 4 was concerned, it did not bring that level of clarity or comparability to the reader as IFRS 17 is doing.
And so Do you anticipate that all insurance companies, they're going to take on this new standard in their organization?
Absolutely. All insurance companies must do so effective 1/1/2023. And why we're here at this point in time, as we approach the end of quarter one, 31st of March, public listed companies on the stock exchange who are also insurance companies would be required to publish their results quarterly, reflecting the requirements of this new standard.
Yeah. What does it mean for the typical insurer, this particular standard? I'm coming to you, Brandon.
Sure. So IFRS 17, as Musa would have indicated, impacts all insurers. So let's split the industry, if we can, between life insurance, which is the policy that people are familiar with the most, payable on death, and that's very long term. And then there are property and casualty insurers. That's your house, your car, etc. So the standard does impact the long-term insurers, the life insurers, a bit more than it does the property and casualty insurers. But both categories of insurers will have new line items on their financial statements, and the people that view these statements and use these statements, regardless of if they're life or if they're P&C, property and casualty, they will see different insurers. But the difference in the numbers will probably be more pronounced on the life and the long-term insurance side, as opposed to the property and casualty side, which everybody who renews their car insurance knows is annual, versus life insurance, which is a little bit longer.
Yeah. I'm also wondering how it's going to affect the customers because, okay, so is it also supposed to help to minimize error? Maybe you may have been quoted higher or lower. Does it get to that granular detail, or is it only for the life and the long term, as Brandon was saying? Come in here, Musa.
Yeah, no, it does not impact the customer at all from the standpoint, other than reading and interpreting the financial statements. Claims processes, customer service, pricing, compliance requirements are all separate and apart from IFRS 17. So there's no impact of bringing IFRS 17 to affect customers or any other stakeholders other than the reader financial statements.
Yeah. Is this something that has been implemented across the region, or is it just something, because I think we mentioned we had a 4 and now we're moving on to the 17. Is this something that we're seeing the other regions, international standard that other organizations have also been taking on as well?
Insurance-wise, globally, it's applicable. Without getting into too much detail, there's IFRS, which is adopted by many countries, as I said, throughout the globe. And of course, there's the US aspect, which is GAAP, which is a different type of standard. All companies that follow IFRS would be required to do so and comply with it effective the 1st of this year.
Interesting. I think it's very interesting when we're talking about this financial standard. I mean, how does it compare not just for insurance, but other standards? Because I know one of the main things is that you want to be able to get that readability, right? People who are looking at financial statements could actually look at this and read it. And how does this standard compare to, let's say, a standard that an auditor uses or an accountant uses? I mean, where does it fall in that sort of scale?
Great question. It's all part of one universe. It's internationally defined standards which companies are required to comply with. Auditors are also experts in knowing these details of the standard. So they would audit financial statements of companies using all standards, one of which will be IFRS 17. So it's all a single universe where financial reporting is concerned.
Yeah. And just to add to that, Musa, is that the ability of all the different people that use the financial statements to read it and understand what it's saying and have it useful for their work. That's why we're doing this public outreach and this communication, because it's so important, that question you just asked, that people can read a financial statement and really understand the story that the financial statements are telling us.
Yeah. Are there going to be people in the organization who prefer IFRS 4 or who prefer an older way of doing things? And how can you get them on board with this particular standard?
I don't think there's going to be a personal preference on individuals. I think given the fact that the standard requires a lot of data to be now reported in a different format, i.e. recognizing income over a longer term, expenditure over a longer term, it's really getting companies ready to that point. We would have had 2-3 years prior to the beginning of this year to get ready. So I think if anybody had a challenge with IFRS 17, it would have been before the new year.
Right, yes. And my final question to you, Brandon, I mean, with all this data, what's the purpose of all this data capturing? Are you going to analyze it to see trends?
So we always analyze our data, but you're right, this is a great opportunity for the industry to leverage the fact that we have to invest in our data in a particular way and look at what we can do with that data. And insurers use that is the lifeblood of an insurer, the data that we get, and we can better serve our clients. So what IFRS 17 is asking us to do is track certain things in a far more detailed way than before. And the ability to do that, as Musa was outlining, can find its way into pricing, into product development, into so many different things to drive the company. So we're not just complying for complying's sake. The industry as a whole has an opportunity to use the fact that they've built out this ability to comply to do more than just comply, compliance plus perhaps.
Well, Brandon, Musa, let me thank you, gentlemen, so much for coming in. I'm sure that it was a very, very fruitful discussion. I hope that other insurance companies also listening and just general public understand how important this new standard is. So thank you, gentlemen, again.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.
Money, money, money. Money, money, money. Money, money.